Hi, I'm Nathan Cornillon, and I'm the PM on User State Migration Tool. I'm on the IntelliMirror team. We're going to be talking about user state migration today. Probably the first question is, what is user state migration? User state migration, user state, are the user's files, settings, and that's it. So all the data that they create, be it their documents, their email, whatever, all that, the intellectual property, and then their system stuff, their configuration, what email server they're on, what their username is, that kind of stuff, and the application settings, what they want their desktop color to be. Collectively, all that, everything that makes this machine my machine is user state. The important reason to migrate it is a lot of the companies, a lot of you are using the migration phase as a good time to do a clean slate, to do a wipe and load. You want to start fresh with Windows 2000. But starting fresh means that all the stuff that the user had on the machine is now gone, so you're going to just format it. And you want to get that stuff over. You want to get the user state over from the old machine to the new machine so that you can reduce their downtime. All the time it would take to reconfigure the new machine, like when you have a new employee come on. Don't want to have to go through that. Also, the migration tool can help you move all the documents that are scattered over the local drive into My Documents. So you can start to actually enforce policies like all important documents need to be on the server, store everything in My Documents. That'll help you move to a more managed desktop. The key scenarios that the tool addresses are the wipe and load scenario, where you collect all the user state, format, and install Whistler, Windows 2000, whichever. And then you want to restore the user state when you're done. The other big scenario that we deal with is the side-by-side machine replacement. When your machines go off lease and you're going to buy a new machine and bring it in, you want to be able to grab everything from the user's old machine and bring it over to the user's new machine. Those are two key scenarios that we address. We're getting ready to ship User State Migration Tool version 1, which targets Windows 2000. That's the current product we have. We target large organizations. It has no GUI. It's driven by INF files. We migrate from Windows 95, Windows 98, NT to Windows 2000. We can migrate via any valid path, including UNC path. The idea is that you collect all the state, write it up to your server, wipe and load the machine, and bring the state back down. You can include or exclude files or folders, same with specific registry keys or a whole tree of keys. By default, we'll migrate the entire user's hive, so all of HKey current user. When we migrate the hive, you'll often want to either make sure we get specific things, move certain things, or actually just exclude things. You don't want this to come over. You have all that capability in the INF file. We move key system settings like my desktop background, my wallpaper, my colors. We also move things like my home page, my proxy settings, my favorites. We also get a limited set of application settings. For example, Outlook. In Outlook, we'll grab the server and the mailbox, so that as soon as you bring Outlook back up, once you're migrated, you can go directly back to your mail without having to reconfigure it. The most important feature we have is it's extendable by your IT department, by you guys. You can actually go in, figure out what additional file types should you be getting, because you'll have in-house applications you know far more about than we do. Do I have a specific setting I need to get? Maybe some of the settings are in HKey local machine instead of HKey current user. All of that's easily done by adding stuff to the INF file. What we don't do with version 1, we do not migrate applications. There are copyright issues involved. Also, if you're moving from 95 to 2000 or Whistler, you might not be able to run the same exes. We don't use the internet as a transport. We don't support migrating cookies, although you can try to do this. We don't support it. We do not have an undo. We do not read from Windows 2000. So while we do migrate to Windows 2000, you cannot use Windows 2000 as a source machine. We also don't migrate your ACLs. So if you're moving from NT, you're going to have to redo the security on the files potentially. Most of the time, the files will just take on the security ACLs of the folder that you're moving it into, and this isn't an issue. If you have special ACLs on certain files, you'd have to go re-ACL those. We do not migrate most recently used lists, so what files you most recently had open. We don't migrate sound. And most importantly, we don't handle all cases. We handle most cases. There are certain scenarios you can come across that the tool simply doesn't handle. For example, you have a really long favorite name. The name is like 200 plus characters. You could potentially run into violating the maximum length file name path can be, 255 characters. That would cause an issue for the tool. Right now, we just went into beta, so if you're interested in joining the beta, you want to do is contact your MCS rep and have them contact me, Nathan C. We officially started our beta 4.17. The beta is limited, so we can only handle so many people. It will be available as part of the summer res kit, so I think that's midsummer. That's coming out. User state migration version tool. The Whistler targeted version does more. We now migrate from the same sources, Windows 95, 98, and NT. We also migrate from Windows 2000, Millennium, and Whistler, all of them to Whistler. So now you will be able to do stuff like source and destination both being Whistler. We're also getting additional settings. For example, we're going to now support taking cookies across, taking internet history across, and supporting Outlook Express. We will ship in the box with Whistler instead of as part of the res kit. You'll be able to compress all the collected user state. Right now we do not do the compression, so it's in the same format it was on the user's drive on the server. You'll now be able to optionally compress it if you like. We provide a GUI for end users. So if you want to actually have your people walk through customization of what they're going to take and not take, they can do that. We also offer new transport options, like the internet, direct cable, and home LAN support. We do support the INF files from version 1. Again, what Whistler does not do, still do not copy applications. We don't provide INF level control in the GUI. So a lot of the things you can do with an INF, you will not be able to do through the GUI. We do not go to any non-Whistler target. So while version 1 you can migrate to Windows 2000, version 2 only lets you migrate to Whistler. So we don't migrate to Windows 2000. We still do not copy ACLs. We do not specifically handle EFS, so the encrypted files will become unencrypted. We do not do undo or rollback. So once you've migrated, if you decide, I really don't like this, I want to go back to the way it was before, we don't support that. However, we do have better support for if the migration gets aborted partway through, rolling back to before the migration was started on the destination machine. The availability will be part of Whistler. It's not going to be 64-bit, and will probably not be in the early adopter release. The key settings that we're targeting taking right now are your email connectivity settings for Outlook, Outlook Express, specifically your MAPI profile stuff. So what's your server, what's your mailbox on your server, and then with the internet stuff, do you need to do anything else? Like is it IMAP, POP3? We take your personal store, and we'll also take your personal address book. In Internet Explorer, we take your proxy, your favorites, history, cookies, and home page. We do get a few additional settings, but overall, again, the idea is to take your connectivity and your data, what the user customized to be able to get places. In the environment itself, we take your desktop properties, your folder options, your taskbar settings, accessibility, and your fonts. We have virtually complete coverage, but not 100% complete coverage in version 1. Version 2 will have certainly more thorough coverage. We're also taking your RAS or DUN, your dial-up networking connectoids. So for laptop users that you're going to migrate, they'll still have all the stuff they need to be able to connect. In terms of the connectoid, if they use additional software to access your corporate environment, or if they need additional software to access an ISP. The software itself will not be migrated, but the connectoid and its settings will. We will migrate your network resources, so what map drives you have and what map network printers you have. So when I bring my machine back up, if L before was my home drive, it still is, and I still have my main printer. We get additional settings, and most importantly, you can expand the settings that we take through migration of the INF. So let me give you a quick walkthrough of what an admin would go through to use it. When you get the tool from us, we have a default INF that gets a lot of stuff. You don't want to simply use that in most cases. It might be sufficient for you, but often you probably have additional needs for your in-house applications and some other scenarios that you're going to want to customize these. And we strongly recommend that you do take the time to look at it and try to customize these. The first step is customize your default INF files. Then you're going to email your users, say to log off at 5 p.m., and as they log off, either run the tool, or you could also schedule the tool to be run on their computers, for example, through using SMS. When the tool is run, it'll go using your INFs, collect all the state, move it to the temporary store. Then you can have an image come down from the server to the machine, theoretically through Riz, for example, or Ghost, PowerQuest, to install the OS, apps, and for the user on their computer. In that image, you want to be really careful to set up a scheduled task to run the migration tool again. And that task will pull down the user's state. So when the computer reboots, it'll have a scheduled task set to run now, pull down their state, install the state. At that point, the user's ready to log on. And when they do log on, they'll have their desktop back. So that's pretty much it. If we have any questions, do we have any questions? Oh, if you have any questions, you should send them to John G.E.H. at Microsoft.com. One of the main things that we've seen talking with a lot of you is, the desktop settings certainly aren't necessarily so key in terms of needing to be able to do your work. Things like my wallpaper. Talking with a lot of employees, talking with a lot of the IT departments, we found that we have a beautiful rollout, we have a beautiful migration, and we still are finding our users are taking the first bit of the day after they have the new OS, reconfiguring it. I'm going to set up my wallpaper again. Even if I have that expense report I really need to turn in to get paid, I better make sure that my fiance's picture is up as my background. That's downtime that's going to cost you. That's going to hurt the total cost of ownership. So with the tool, we can hopefully get around most of that. So I don't know, let me check to see if we have any questions. No questions? So pretty much good. Thanks. And if you do have any questions in the future, send them to me at nathanc@microsoft.com. And that's about it. Thanks a lot.